It feels good to be 12-0, Jason. I almost said 8-0 for the second time today. No, 8-0 was about a week and a half ago. The Cavs now 12-0. They're the 8th team in NBA history to start a season 12-0. That's where the number 8 keeps coming into my head from. Of the 7 previous teams, Jason, to start the year 8-0, 5 have reached the NBA Finals. So indication strong for this Cavs. Incredible start. And let's just dive right into it. You and I have been to a couple home games. We've talked numerous occasions about this Cavs team, the start, the buttons Kenny Atkinson is pushing, all the above. But 12-0 is 12-0, and they found a different way to win seemingly every single night, Jason. And I think when you look at the variety of ways in which they're winning, that might be the most impressive part of this incredible historic start.
Yeah, I agree. We'll get into it in a second. I didn't mean to jump into it this quickly, but I was looking at some of just the different lineups, and I was trying to come up with something for tomorrow, maybe for the Athletic, on like 12 interesting stats for 12-0. And one thing that's jumping out that you'll see when we get to some of the stuff is it's some of the names that you wouldn't expect are really playing big roles in this. Like George Niang is all over some of their best lineups. And, I mean, obviously, Ty Jerome's been a great story to start the year. I don't know how long he can continue playing at this level, but he's been phenomenal to this point. Even Kenny sort of said the other night after the Warriors game, I don't know where this guy's coming from. They're surprising I think they're even surprising internally with what some of these guys are doing. And Donovan can have a bad night and you don't even notice it. He can have an off shooting night. You don't even notice it. Jarrett Allen can be a ghost in the second half of a game, and you don't even notice it. That's how deep they are right now, and that's how well they're playing 1 through, I don't know, what number you want to put on it, 12?
11.
Yeah.
They're going 11 deep, Jason. It makes no sense. It's incredible. We got a whole Ty Jerome thing we're going to do, so I don't want to give you all my Ty Jerome stuff yet, but
yeah,
he's been incredible. These are the 7 other teams, by the way, that have started a season 12-0. You ready?
Yeah.
The 1957 Boston Celtics made the NBA Finals.
That's back in black and white. They didn't even have color TVs back then.
I know. The 1982 Seattle Supersonics, they had a very quick playoff exit. The 1993 Houston Rockets.
I remember that. That was
post-Michael. Very good team. The 96 MJ Chicago Bulls. The 2002 Dallas Mavericks, who historically got knocked out by the We Believe Warriors in the first round. The 2015 Golden State Warriors, who ended up winning a record 73 games in the regular season. And the 2024 Cleveland Cavaliers, Jason. It is a short, it is an elusive, it is an incredible list to be a part of. And you can go back and we look at the Golden State game where they're making threes left and right. You go to the Brooklyn game where it was the bench unit that sparks the comeback. You go to the second Milwaukee game where it's Darius Garland down the stretch against what was the game? Evan Mobley was the guy down the stretch. It was the one before. Mobley had a big game in the fourth quarter. I'm confusing them all now because the wins have just stacked on top of each other. Last night, Kenny Atkinson in the third quarter takes all his starters out, Jason, and puts 5 bench guys in, and it sparks a 19-7 run. I said on UCSS today, Kenny Atkinson's like a mad scientist right now, just playing with different chemicals, and so far he hasn't blown up. And so far, everything is working, and it's turning into the cures for cancer, and it's turning into these majestic potions that he'll sell on the black market for $1 million. Everything is working. At some point, he's going to do something that backfires, and we're going to have to hold off our criticism on it because we live in such a reactionary world. But 12-0 is incredible. They have a different leading scorer every single game this season that isn't consecutive. So Donovan one night, then Darius, then Evan, then Dean Wade was even in there once. The fact that they are getting contributions from the entire roster, everyone's playing at what you would expect and or above expectation. And it's hard to pinpoint and nitpick anything because A, they're 12-0, and B, they're all playing out of their freaking minds.
Can I give you one lineup that will blow you away that is just gassing teams?
Please.
Now, it's very, 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 very few minutes, like 6 games, 10 minutes. So not long stretches at all. But these numbers are hysterical. They have a net rating of 54.2. You ready? Caris, Levert, Jarrett Allen, Darius Garland, Ty Jerome, and Dean Wade have a net rating of 50. They have a defensive rating of 83 and a net rating of 54.2.
For people who don't understand how those metrics work, Your defensive rating, anything under 100 is excellent.
Yeah.
83 is incredible.
Yeah.
From the offensive standpoint, anything over 100 is awesome. And the net rating is the difference between the two. So a plus 54, that means they have an offensive rating, what, in the 130s?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's just silly. That's all-time historically good. You know, the Cavs as a team, Jason, have the second highest offensive rating in the history of the NBA right now.
I was just looking up some of their offensive rating. They've never led the league in offensive rating. They are right now. I didn't know it was the second highest ever. I didn't know that.
And only Boston last year.
Boston last year. Yeah, Boston last year had a plus minus of like a point differential of like 930.
Yeah.
Totally freaking insane.
Yeah. Now, with the offensive ratings, the way basketball is played has changed the historical perspective on that. There are 4 teams this year in the top 10 all-time in offensive ratings. So, like, grain of salt, take it with a little context. But guess what? It's the best offensive rating the NBA has ever seen, minus the Celtics last year. So, second best of all time. That is absurd for a team that, Jason, you and I harped on time after time for the last 2 years. They could score 100 points in a playoff game.
Yeah.
Right? Like, hey, if they could score 100, we're not talking about 120. We ain't asking for 130. God forbid 110. If they could just crack triple digits,
yeah,
that team could win in the playoffs. They changed the coach. They changed almost nothing on the roster. Now they have the second best offensive rating in the history of the NBA. It's 12 games. It's not the playoffs. I understand there's a very big difference. However, it's pretty damning no matter how you want to spin it.
We mentioned this on the show yesterday when I was on. I'm really anxious to get to the 20-game mark only because that's the first time where I think you can start to take some of these numbers seriously. Right now, we're just having fun with them at this point because it's still such a small sample size. Like it's fun to throw out a net rating of 54. They've only played 10 minutes together, but like those are just absurd numbers. But these will start to course correct a little bit. There'll be some regression to the mean. Once you get to 20 games, between 20 and 25 games, you really sort of get a feeling of who you really are and what's real and what's not. So we're getting there. It's coming faster than you think, that 20-game mark, when we'll really get an understanding of who these guys are. But so far, there's nothing not to like.
No, and it's a likable group. They're the complete anti-Browns right now. The Browns stink to watch. It's a group that's not necessarily the easiest to root for a variety of different reasons. It doesn't seem like the chemistry in the locker room is on point. And you flip to the Cavs team. They themselves have used the word immaculate to describe the vibes in the locker room, Jason. I know you were in the Golden State locker room after the Warriors game, and I'm not sure if you were there for the Nets game, but these guys are busting each other's balls during every post-game interview. They're winning, which helps and plays a ton of it. They're playing an exciting brand of basketball. Despite the fact that their offensive numbers have skyrocketed, their defense hasn't, what's the opposite of skyrocket? Collapsed. Like they're still playing defense at a level in the NBA that you can win at today.
Top 10.
Yeah, like it is a perfectly fine deal. It's maybe not be elite. They have some elite defenders as a unit. They're not an elite group, but they're certainly good enough to win at the highest of levels. And as we continue to see these next layers and layers and layers of what the Cavs offense coaches, what they continue to build upon, it's hard not to get excited. It's hard not to look too far down the road because this is the ultimate kickstart to a season. I mean, you can't start a year. Seriously, 12-0. You can't be better than that. So it's hard to not let yourself wander, but I do want to remind people we are just in the middle of November. There's a long way to go. And the hope is this isn't the peak of the Cavs. This is just the beginning of the crescendo. And if this is the beginning of the crescendo, then when we get to March and April, when the Cavs want to be peaking, if this is the beginning to peak, Jason, they're winning the championship.
I agree with that. And that's just the thing is that's the only thing you want to be playing your best ball in April, May, and June, not on November 12th. So they have to continue this. One more stat I want to throw at you. Darius Garland's had a pretty good year so far, right? You think he's pretty decent?
Yeah.
He is not in their best lineup in point differential. How about that?
Well, it's crazy because he's the only guard in the NBA averaging 20 points who's part of the 50-40-90 club. So he's efficient. He's their leading assister, and he's not in their best lineup. That makes no sense.
If you want to go by just strictly by point differential, their best lineup is Caris, Levert, George Niang, Donovan, Sam Merrill, and Evan Mobley.
We talked about this on the
23 points.
Say it one more time. Sorry, I cut you off.
They've outscored their opponents in that lineup by 23 points. It's the best on the Cavs.
We talked about Darius earlier, Jason, on UCSS. Have you seen his clutch numbers yet? I'm assuming you're on NBA.com if you're sorted by the lineups. He's the most clutch. It's 12 games, and granted, not everyone's played the same amount of clutch attempts, but the Cavs have played in 5 games that qualify by NBA.com's clutch metrics.
Mm-hmm.
He's been the most effective clutch player in the NBA this season. Frankly, it's not close. He's 11 of 14 from the floor and 3 of 5 from 3 with 5 assists and 1 turnover in his clutch opportunities. For anyone who doesn't know, NBA.com categorizes clutch as within a 5-point game in the final 5 minutes of the fourth quarter or overtime. So if it's 6 points, that possession doesn't qualify as a clutch possession. For context, and this is not to crap on Donovan, but he's 2 for 10 in those situations. Darius 11 for 14. And over the last couple of days, Jason, something I'm going to keep an eye out here. Too early to make any conclusions or sweeping judgments. And maybe it's just tired legs. Darius has been their closer in a couple of these games now. Like you go back to the home game against Milwaukee, Donovan said point blank, hey, Darius had it going. I didn't have legs. I let Darius be the guy. Last night against Chicago, it was Donovan in the first half, but it was Darius down the stretch. And once again, he's the guy, not Donovan, who they cleared out for, got the mismatch where that was a design set by the Cavs to get Vucevic switched onto Garland. And if you watch that play back, Jason, you could see Isaac Okoro, as soon as they switch, he's jumping on the bench saying, no, means it's over. He got it. And then Darius goes and scores the bucket. Just something to keep an eye on, but there's a chance, and it's a great problem to have. It's not even a problem. It's a great option to have 2 different guys who could ball handle like that and close games. But if Darius continues to play like this, having 2 guys that can be your primary closer is an elite luxury for Kenny Atkinson.
Yeah.
And Ty Jerome, he's also shooting out his mind. We're going to talk to Jerome in a sec. But you might have 3 elite closers if Ty Jerome's going to keep playing like this.
I'm not putting Ty Jerome in that category. I will put Darius in that category, and one day, maybe soon, Evan. And again, it goes back to how many times last year we say it can't just be Donovan and everybody get out of the way and wait for Donovan to go bail you out. And then Donovan came around on that. We've talked about it on the show before. And Donovan wanted the ball in Darius's hands, even when he was struggling last year, wanted Darius in those moments. Now, I don't think there's, listen, it's a long way till April, but if you got a playoff game and you're down a bucket, I don't think anyone's going to have a problem with Darius Garland taking that shot.
No. He's being incredibly efficient. He's making all the right decisions. It seems like last year he wasn't as decisive. And part of that, I think, was the physical limitations after the jaw injury, Jason. Part of it was just mentally. He may not have been fully there. His shots weren't falling, so it's harder to feel confident in making a decision when you're not as confident in the jump shot. But he's playing incredibly decisive this year. And I can't stress and emphasize enough, when a player of his caliber and mainly his ability to weave in and out of the defense is decisive, and he's forcing the defense to react as opposed to reacting to what the defense is doing, it puts everybody on the other team on their heels.
Yeah.
And when the defense is playing from a regression position, the offense has such an advantage. And Donovan's incredible at it. And Darius last year, I don't think, was as good as he's been in the past. This year, he's being the aggressor, and you're seeing all the dividends pay off for him in that regard.
Yeah. Yeah. Get to your tie stuff.
Let's do some tie stuff here after a quick word from FanDuel. Guys, if you want to bet on a Cavs game, they're 12-0. They're a favorite again tomorrow night in Philadelphia. You better be using FanDuel to bet on the Cavaliers. FanDuel is an official sportsbook partner of the NFL and NBA. And right now, new customers on FanDuel get $150 in bonus bets if their first $5 bet wins. So make sure you head over to FanDuel.com/UCSS to get all your FanDuel and betting needs in. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of not just the NFL, the NBA, and the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. All right, Jason, we have to talk Ty Jerome here. Now, I'm not saying that Ty Jerome is the second coming of Steph Curry. And I'm not saying that Ty Jerome is all of a sudden going to take over the Cavs and force them to give him a max contract and make it core 5, and we'll call it the Fantastic 5 with Ty Jerome and the other ones. I'm not saying that he should be an all-star starter this year. But Ty Jerome on the season is shooting 61% from the floor and 54% from 3 in just 18 minutes per game. When you extrapolate these numbers, by the way, Jason, over 36 minutes, so per 36, one of my favorite stats in basketball because it averages out all players. It's what do you average per minute times 36 minutes.
Yeah.
His numbers per 36 this year, Jason, 22.2 points per game, 7.6 assists, 4.5 rebounds, 3.3 steals. He's obviously still shooting 61, 54, and 89 from the free throw line. Jason, in comparison, throughout his career, which his rookie year was 2019, 2020, his previous career high in per 36 was 16.1 points per game. So he's 6 points higher than that this season. His career high in assists per game was 6. He's 1.5 higher than that this year. His steals, which, by the way, Kenny Atkinson told us to our faces, and Jason, you were in the press conference with me. I don't know where this defensive presence from Ty Jerome has come from. His career high in steals per 36 prior to this year was 1.6. He's at 3.3 this season. That would be second in the NBA among all qualified players in steals per 36 behind Dyson on the New Orleans Pelicans. When you look at some of these clips here, Jason, I'm not even going to break them down. Just watch Ty Jerome. He's a menace. His hands are everywhere. It's leading to open buckets left and right for himself, for his teammates. He is invigorated and energized the second unit. And because of the way he's playing on both ends of the court, and mainly on defense with little stuff like this, like, whoa, cookies, give me that, Anthony Black, you're a rookie. I'm a vet. That's too easy. Slow step, reverse. Ty freaking Jerome, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? So the ability that the Cavs have and Kenny Atkinson, the luxury they have with a guy like Ty Jerome, who has been playing at, and I'm not exaggerating, at an all-star level right now, has made giving Donovan and Darius the necessary minutes off to not overtax them as they've played 12 games in 20 nights, the most in the NBA. It's allowed him to be versatile if someone's not on that night, to allow Ty to come in. Don't have to force it. We can make it work without him. I texted you this morning. He is the David Fry of the NBA. David Fry, for the first half of the season, had an OPS higher than Shohei Ohtani. We all knew that was going to come down eventually, and it did, but for a long stretch, Jason, he was the talk of the baseball world. Ty Jerome ain't going to shoot 10% better than Steph Curry from 3 all season, but right now he is. David Fry fizzled off, but then played a pivotal role in the playoffs at the biggest postseason home run that I've seen from a Cleveland Guardian yet. I'm not putting it past Ty Jerome to have some serious playoff impacts for this Cavaliers team. And because you mentioned him as a flippant name, just a throwaway name to get on the luxury tax, I think Ty Jerome's taking that personally, Jason, and this is all a result of you saying he could be, keyword could, be the cap casualty if the Cavs need to get on the luxury tax.
Now, in my defense, I said that after what, like the 5th game, 6th game? Like it was very, very early. And again, I'm not even going to get into it. I'm sure he's going to win the MVP now because I did that.
It was clearly a flippant comment. It wasn't meant to be he's the one. But because you said it and put it in the ether, you knew this was going to happen.
I mean, he's a career shooter. He's 43% career shooter, 36% career from 3, which, I mean, that's decent. 36% is respectable from 3 by,
but compared to this.
But this is insane. And, I mean, there's not a big book out on him. He's got about 160 career games, I think, before this year, right around there. So 2 full seasons basically stretched out over a few years. Obviously, he had the injuries last year and, was a ghost. It's come out of nowhere. I think your David Fry comparison is spot on. I think that's really, really, I think it's really good. Is a guy you didn't really expect anything out of, you didn't really know anything out of, or you didn't really know what to expect from him. And then to watch him come in and do this, again, he's one of those guys, just enjoy it because I have no idea how long it's going to last. I don't think the Cavs expect it to last all year long. But I mean, he's been a great story so far in the NBA. And I don't think a lot of people have realized what he means to this team. I was talking to my editors today at The Athletic, and I was like, I think I might want to do something on reintroducing the country to the Cavs. You probably haven't seen this team since LeBron left. So here's some of the important things you need to know. And right now he's on that list.
I have a great Ty Jerome nugget for you that I have to confirm. So when we hang up off this, I got to get one more person to confirm this, and then you can use it in your story. But if it's true, it's not that big of it's not a big deal, but Cavs, I just don't want to say it and it not be true. So I don't want to get ahead of myself, but Cavs fans will love it when it comes up. Jason, not just Jerome, the whole bench for the Cavs has been incredible. We talked about it a little bit. Caris Levert, once again, a guy who's never been a 55, 48% shooter, shooting out of his damn mind. Sam Merrill, George Niang, Dean Wade. This doesn't even include Max Strus yet, who may be a starter, maybe a bench guy when he comes back. Isaac Okoro playing out of his mind. Kenny Atkinson has pushed all the right buttons with Darius, with Evan, with the core 4 and creating spacing. I think you can make the case the most impressive feat he's had all season is finding a way to turn a bench group that on paper before the year, it looked solid. It was okay. into arguably the most efficient offensive bench in all of basketball, Jason. They're top 7 in every offensive stat when it comes to total bench points, three-pointers made off the bench, assists. They're top 3 in three-point percentage off the bench. They're top 4 in three-point makes per game off the bench, assist-to-turnover ratio, points per game, steals per game. They get no blocks per game because they don't have a backup big man. It's the only stat on the bench list that they're not top couple in. It's incredible, and Kenny Atkinson is pushing all the right buttons to get the most out of his bench every single night. And the beauty of it, it's been a different rotation and a different guy. It's not the same 2 guys every time. It's a pick and choose your battle. Some nights Sam Merrill has it going. Some nights he doesn't. Okoro, same thing. But they're getting 30 to 40 points a game from this bench. And Jerome and Caris Levert have been arguably the 2 most consistent guys offensively all season.
Yeah, and it goes back to what I was looking at with some of these lineups and the combinations and the names that are dotting all over their best lineups are names you would not expect to see in there. And you've already mentioned a lot of them. I mentioned George earlier. George Niang's all over him. Sam's all over him. Caris has been wildly inconsistent his entire career. I have to think at some point that's coming. But to this point, he's been phenomenal. And, I wonder how much of it is also just the quality of looks that they're getting because, in the past, I guess there's levels to it. Like in the past, they had open looks, but it just feels like they are just naked open this year. And I think it goes back to some of the movement, some of the ball movement. We talked about it on the show. Draymond pointed out the drive kick swing that the Warriors cook teams with. The Cavs are really good at that this year. Some of the actions that Kenny's brought and he's getting them in it's really up the quality, I think, of the looks that some of the shots are just ridiculous. That there's no logical reason why they would take that shot or they would go in, and they're going in. I'm thinking about like the Jarrett Allen. It's not a 3, but I think it was Jarrett who just flipped one up as he was getting fouled the other night, like underhanded, tossed it up.
Mobley did it, yeah.
Mobley, yeah. It's just like, okay, well, you're eating right, you're living right when those things are falling for you too.
And I go back to a couple of these late game stretches where Jerome's been on the court in their closing lineups, and he's taking some floaters that as it's going up, I'm yelling, no, what are you? Great shot. Let's go. You know what? When you're hot, you're hot. And as a team, they are hot right now. You take it. Yeah. Jerome shooting 61% from the floor. So I can't say anything's a bad shot for him right now because he's making 6 out of 10. But right now as a team, they are on fire. And Jason, a lot of it is due to the quality of looks. It's not enough data yet to fully get into the wide open threes versus the open threes versus the contested threes.
Right.
Compared to last season when you had an 82 plus playoff game sample versus just 12 games this year, but we're getting to that quarter of the season mark where I think some of the numbers hold a little validity. But you want to talk about some of these opening sets the Cavs have done that maybe have some parallels to some stuff they're running later in the games that have created some of these open shots?
Yeah.
All right, we'll do that after a quick word from Game Time. The Cavs are home on Friday and Sunday against the Bulls and the Hornets as part of the NBA Cup. If you want to head over to the games to Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse and check out the undefeated Cavs in person, you better be using the Game Time app to get your tickets, and more specifically, the Game Time Picks feature on the Game Times app. Take the guesswork out of buying your tickets online with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. That is promo code LOCKEDONNFL on the Game Time app. What time is it? It's game time. All right, Jason, let me drop this background here. Let's show up some videos. I pulled 8 different clips, and these are the opening sets. So the very first play of the game, the very first offense the Cavs have run, designed to get a certain guy a certain look. Now, when I went into this project, and if this is real hoop stuff, by the way. Like, if you ain't ready for X's and O's, then you can just log out. But we're going to get deep in the weeds here. And hopefully some of y'all like it. If you don't, we won't get this deep again. I was hoping to find some pattern and some trend. I really didn't. But they're doing some really cool stuff that I think is worth highlighting because I don't remember seeing this under the Bickerstaff regime. And Jason, if you do, please tell me. But I don't remember it as I was going through it. So I pulled 8 of the 12 games, the first play they've run. I like some of them. I don't like some of them. We've showed you some of these before, but let's get to it. This is the very first play of the very first game. They win the tap. And Jason, we said, what are they going to do on the first play of the game? They were going to Evan Mobley. That was obvious. They ran a little screen-to-screener action here for Mobley. He's going to screen Garland's man. Then you got Dean Wade on the backside who's going to screen for Evan Mobley to pop out into open space. Garland makes the easy swing. They switch it, and it's just a one-on-one for Evan Mobley from the perimeter, which is something we did not see him do often last year. simple screen-to-screen action. You see it all the time in the NBA. It's not a new concept by any means, but I don't think they ever ran a screen-the-screener from Mobley to start at the three-point line. They've used this different action for a bunch of different guys, Jason, but we both wanted to see Mobley get the first shot of the season. We put money on it, at least I did, and that's one of the few bets I've cashed this year. I have not been good on my first basket bet, which hopefully I'll be much better at after studying 8 of their first 12. Thoughts on that play?
Yeah, I like it because of the Evan factor. I think it was important. I mean, obviously he's really establishing himself now, but first game of the year, first touch, first game, get the big man involved.
So they run a little screen-to-screen on the first play. Against the Pistons in the second game, we saw Mobley get it on the top of the wing against the Raptors. The second game, they run a little cross screen. Donovan screens for Evan's guy. Evan comes down to the block. And on the backside, you see a little double screen here just to occupy the defense. Garland and Allen are going to screen for Donovan coming around for a three-pointer. Give the Pistons credit. They don't switch on the screen, and Tobias Harris ends up making a nice play to slap the ball away from Evan Mobley. But first 2 games of the season, you run a screen-the-screener for Ev on the top of the right wing. Second game of the season, do a little cross-screen action. Have Donovan coming off a double on the strong side here as a secondary option, but making an early emphasis to get Evan involved in the first 2 games. Since then, Evan ran a first play for Ev. So we saw the first 2 games, both for Mobley since then. It hasn't been for number 4.
I wonder if any part of that is because he's so active and involved, they don't feel the need to force it to him now. We're still so early into the season, but we've seen such a different player. Part of the reason that I felt like they need to be going to him for the first touch, and I still think they should, is just you're forcing the action. You're forcing him to get involved early because it wasn't coming to him naturally last year and in previous years. So you make it, you demand it to happen. And that's what the Cavs did when Kevin Love was here. You demanded him to get involved early because sometimes Kyrie and LeBron would ignore him. So you're going to make sure that he gets his touches early. But Evan has been so good this year that you really don't need to force it, I guess.
No, this next one we talked about when we spoke about Darius Garland a couple of weeks ago. It's just a little opportunity to get Darius in a one-on-one pick and roll situation. Josh Hart makes the silly decision to go under by the ghost screen on top. I'll pause it. I didn't draw this one up because we had done it previously. But right here, Garland sets a fake ghost screen. Josh Hart's not sure if he's going to help out and show on Dean Wade or if he's going to follow Darius Garland. He comes down underneath the Allen screen. Once he's on the downside, that's an open lane to the middle for Darius, and he puts Cat in a what do I do situation. If I don't show, it's an alley-oop. Or if I don't show, it's a shot. If I show, it's an alley-oop. Pretty simple action here for the Cavs. They run this a ton with Garland and Mitchell. We're going to see it again in a little bit, but a pretty simple play we broke down earlier. Jason, this might be my favorite play they've run so far. This is against the Magic. I think you and I were both at this game. And they're going to set a little double screen here for Donovan Mitchell. They set it up super simple, Mobley to Mitchell, and right here. So Allen's going to screen for Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Then you have Dean Wade, who's going to screen Mo Wagner, who's guarded Jarrett Allen. Wade's going to pop up. Donovan's going to come off this double screen, and watch Mo Wagner. He's just in a pickle. He's, what do I do? Do I help on Dean Wade? Do I show off Darius? Is Evan going to roll for a lob? He has 3 guys he's keeping an eye on, and what does he do? He does nothing. He stands there, and Darius gets right to there. Watch him again as it goes through. You're going to see the stop and start here. But the Cavs put essentially a 1-on-3 here with the cross motion and the way they space the floor and the timing of which they screen. Once again, Wade's going to pop to the top, so you can't just leave him wide open. The Magic do a poor job communicating, and Mo Wagner's standing there, and he's looking, pointing at all 3 guys essentially at once. His head's on a swivel. Who do I got? Who do I got? Who do I got? And I'm not going to get anybody. Donovan waltzes in for an easy layup. Really creative set, nothing too complex, but when you put guys in decision-making positions, they don't make the right decision, it can lead to literally a walk-in layup for the best player on the court.
No, we didn't see anything like that last year with multiple screens like that, and they made Wagner look like Jed Wills.
I'm going to move on because that's the perfect comparison. All right, next up is a little Iverson cut here from the Cavs. Garland's going to come across the foul line from these 2 screens, and really watch Dame Lillard and Malik Beasley here, and watch Beasley. As soon as Garland comes up, Beasley's going to be the one that chases him, but right there, Dame's looking back like, hey, who's going? Who's going? It's confusion. When you cut, which the Cavs have put such an emphasis on this season, it puts the defense in decisions and what do you have to do if you're not communicating properly. It leads to easy shots just like this. We saw against the Knicks when Josh Hart went under, it led to an open shot for Darius. He made that one. He misses this one. But simple action, a little Iverson cut here from Garland coming off the double. This should be an easy switch, but Dame and Beasley don't communicate. You can literally see it. I highlighted in a sec. Dame's already looking back. He's saying, I'm not going. You're chasing him. Like, I'm staying on my guy. You chase. And just by that half steps being slow, the confusion, he's now underneath Jarrett Allen. He's got to chase him over top. Darius gets right to where he wants to get. Misses the shot, but it can't ask for a better look on the first
look. It's a great look.
This next thing may be my favorite thing they've done, Jason. I know for a fact they didn't do this last year. They're doing fake cuts into screens, and the NBA is kind of picking up on this. The Cavs are one of the early adopters. But we're going to show you these back-to-back plays, similar stuff. Isaac Okoro, watch him here. You see Darius is already in a screening position, right?
Yep.
Setting a screen. You assume Isaac is going to come through there to the corner or clear out, but instead he's going to hit him with a little hezzy hey, and he's going to run hard, cut, but then he's going to turn around and screen for Darius's guy. And watch what happens to the Pelicans. It's a bit of a moving screen, whatever. They didn't call it, so it doesn't count. But a little hezzy hey on the screen, all the action is set up. You've seen this on tape a million times. If Darius is setting a screen, Okoro's coming through and then clearing out to the opposite corner. Instead, he comes and picks off Alvarado's guy who's not in a defensive position. You can see the guy who's supposed to guard Okoro. He's not anywhere to help Darius, who then comes off this pin down here from Jarrett Allen, steps right into a three. Decent closeout, but for a really good shooter who's in the zone like Darius is right now, that's about as good a look as you can hope for.
That's a great play. I never even noticed that. That is a great play.
If you like that, you'll love this next one, Jason. Same concept. Here's Isaac Okoro in the corner. Jarrett Allen is going to come. This looks like a handoff, right?
Yeah.
Isaac says, nope. He's going to turn around and screen for Darius's guy. Darius's guy is going to come off for the handoff. Draymond has Evan Mobley in the corner, but with all the action going on, Draymond has his eyes focused on the action, and that's going to allow for a wide open backdoor cut for Evan Mobley. You see he comes off, turns the corner. Draymond's staring at the top.
Yep.
Evan goes backdoor. Great delivery from Darius. Evan, you love to see him finish it, but he gets fouled and 2 foul shots. Same action. I haven't seen it before this season. Any team really set these fake screens come around into a screen, and the Cavs are using it. It has to be a nightmare to defend because you don't know if it's a real screen or not, and you're already communicating switch. Well, now if it's not a screen, what do you do? And it's putting the defense in another situation where they have to make on-the-fly, split-second decisions. And when you have movement like this, one false look, and that's all it takes from Draymond here. It's a look. And Evan's smart enough to cut back door, and it should have been a dunk, but he took the fouls instead.
That's really good.
Yeah.
We didn't see anything close to this last year.
And this last play I actually hate. It's just a high screen for Donovan Mitchell. This one makes – I mean, you get your best player high screen. They ended up getting shot. There's nothing special about it.
We saw a lot of that last year.
This is a lot of what it looked like last year.
Yeah, it really is.
Nothing special. I mean, every team runs this play. It's as basic as it gets. But you see some of the intricate concepts they run. You're not going to have something deep in the bag every time. But you look at the totality of what they're running to start these games, Jason, it's a lot of really, really, really good stuff.
Yeah. No, it's great. And it's really funny to close with that one that you closed with because that looks very similar to what they ran last year. So you can really juxtapose what they're doing now and what they were doing last year.
Jason, I know you got to run. You said 7:35, so you get out. I'm going to answer some questions from the chat. So if you want to dip, Jason, I'm going to answer some questions from the chat here.
All right, thanks, guys. I got to go get my son. I'll see you next week.
Jason has parental duties, so we're going to say bye to Jason. We'll see you on Friday on UCSS, Jason.
Yep.
And if you guys have any questions in the chat, drop them. I'm going to answer these before we wrap up for today. Ryan says, is this the best Cavs team in history, or are we overreacting? It's the best start in history. They have to win a lot more games and specifically win a lot of playoff games before I think anyone can say it is the best teams in Cavs history, best team in Cavs history. I would say it's too early to make any sweeping judgments like that, but it's a damn good basketball team. Damn good basketball team. V1 Beat says, do y'all feel like we need a backup big if Jared gets hurt? Jared, by the way, is dealing with a lower leg strain. He may miss a game or two. It's nothing too serious. He was out of it the last 2 games. He's dealing with a lower leg strain. We'll find out if he's playing tomorrow. He's officially listed as questionable. I do think they need a backup big. Dwight Howard, I would not touch with a 10-foot pole. He is a locker room cancer, and I would not want that anywhere near the current chemistry the Cavs have. But I do think they need another backup big. Tristan Thompson's really their only legitimate backup big with size and physicality at the moment. I wouldn't be opposed to bringing back Marcus Morris or trying to find someone else come waivers or via a trade. But yeah, I do think they need another backup big. I don't trust Tristan Thompson to be the only guy off the bench in case of emergency. Brian says, Mike, my son asked if you updated us on how your friend's wedding went during the World Series. Yeah, I'll do it real quick again. It was a great wedding. We all got together and watched the ninth inning of Game 2. His wife let him peek over when the bases were loaded, and obviously the Yankees, they collapsed, and he was not very happy. But it was a good time. He had a great wedding, and it all about worked out. Marshall says the only real eyesore is the free throw percentage and rebounds, but could just be us going smaller. Yeah, I think when the Cavs need to get boards, they're able to get boards. I'm not too worried about that. The free throw percentage, yeah, we are nitpicking. Like, if you have to nitpick, that's something you could look at, but they're making 43% of their threes, which leads the NBA. If you can make threes, you can make free throws. Darius, Donovan, all those guys can shoot from the free throw line. Ty Jerome, Strus, Mobley's pretty good. Allen's pretty good. And they're a bunch of good free throw shooters. Not particularly worried about that. Let's see. Todd Trout says Curry gets most of his open looks off ball. What is Darius doing? He is moving without the ball. Ty Jerome looks like he is in that Sean Livingston role. Yeah, he's playing awesome. And you got to remember, when he was in Golden State before coming to Cleveland, Kenny Atkinson was an assistant in Golden State. Now, Ty came to Cleveland before Kenny Atkinson did, but they had some built-in chemistry from their time in Golden State, and that's part of why I think Kenny feels so comfortable going with Ty Jerome in a bunch of these situations where maybe he wouldn't feel as comfortable with a point guard or a lead ball handler he hasn't had that much time with, especially in his first year. Stadium Mustard said, Tristan's the backup big. He is the backup big. Do you trust him if you need him in a situation? Maybe. I don't know what I'm going to get from him. So I don't think you could go into a series with that being your only backup big. I know you have Dean Wade. I know you have George Niang, but those guys aren't your bangers, your big bodies down low. So I don't think Tristan could be the guy solely that you are relying on. Brian says, please don't trade anyone. Don't mess with the chemistry. Yeah, I mean, right now you're not looking at any trades. This is, a couple of months down the line, closer to the deadline in February. Let's see. Bring JaVale McGee back. Hey, I kind of love JaVale McGee's game. I don't know if he's still in playing shape. I'm not sure what his physical status is right now. But when he was cooking, that dude was a valuable member off the bench. Won a couple championships. You need a guy like that. I'm not sure if JaVale McGee at this age is the right answer, but someone along that ilk, that archetype, yeah, I'm all for it. What's the timetable on Max Strus, according to Kent Martin? To my knowledge, Strus is still a couple weeks away. I wouldn't expect him to be in the lineup for about another month, which gives you some more time to figure out which lineups work best together, who's still shooting well when he comes back. I said earlier in the year that when Strus was healthy, he had to be the starting three. I've completely flipped my philosophy on that. I actually think Strus is better off suited coming off the bench now and putting Dean Wade or Okoro, whoever's shooting better, in that starting three position to give you a little more defensive versatility and flexibility. But yeah, he's not going to be back for at least a couple of weeks. He just started, and I mean just started a few days ago, doing some conditioning drills and shooting a basketball again at full speed. So he's not anywhere near, you consider a few weeks anywhere near, but he's still a few weeks out before he gets back into contention. Do I think the Cavs will be more serious about the NBA Cup? So if they weren't 12-0, my answer would be no. Because they're 12-0 and because tomorrow night, is tomorrow night the first night of the NBA Cup? Or is it Friday? Hold on, let me look this up. But my point stands as because they're 12-0, I think they're going to take all these games incredibly serious. And that may play right into their favor when it comes to the NBA Cup. When is it? I want to make sure I get this right. NBA Cup schedule 2024-25. So because I think they're in the right position in terms of being 12-0, all these games are going to matter, not just for the streak, but because of it. Yeah, I do think they will be more serious, but not because they're trying to win the NBA Cup per se. I just think because of the nature that it provides in terms of, hey, we want to keep this streak going. This is when the games are. We're going to take them seriously because we want to go 25-0, 26-0, as opposed to, hey, we're trying to win the NBA Cup. The Lakers won the NBA Cup last season. They beat the Pacers in the championship of that, and we saw what happened to the Lakers in the playoffs. So just because you win does not mean anything long-term. Two more things here. Marshall says, is Max Strus still an asset for this team? Yeah, absolutely. He's definitely still an asset. If Jerome and Levert and Merrill and all these guys are all shooting 50% from three, then he's a less valuable asset because shooting's at a premium. But I don't know if that's sustainable. And if that's not sustainable and Jerome goes back closer to his career three-point percentage of 34%, and Levert's a 36% career shooter, and Dean Wade is high 30s, low 40s, and Niang, that's when you need a guy who can get streaky and hot, and he brings more playmaking to the table than a guy like Sam Merrill. I think the way Atkinson wants to use Strus, if you go back to his Brooklyn days and look at the way Atkinson used Joe Harris, I think there's going to be a lot of that action utilized for Max Strus. But the one thing Strus does that Harris didn't was he can play make off the dribble. And I think you're going to see that evolution of what Atkinson can do from an offensive play caller standpoint brought to the maximum with Max Strus in the lineup. So, yeah, he's still an asset. Is he can't win without player anymore? I think it's pretty obvious it's not because they're 12-0, but he's still an asset. So, yeah, that's going to do it for the Ultimate Cavs Sports Show. Appreciate you guys tuning in. 12-0 feels great. Let's get to 13-0 tomorrow night, 14-0 on Friday, 15-0 on Sunday. Let's get to that Celtics game on Tuesday night, TNT, with a perfect 15-0 record on the line. That would draw the attention of everybody who hadn't bought in yet, and they're crazy for not, but if they haven't, they should. If you can't ignore them, if they end up beating the Celtics to go to 16-0. Halfway to the record, halfway to the fun, and we have a whole lot more Cavs basketball coming your way and Cavs talk. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Peace.